might sound alien to you at the moment and you think, well, I've never used Shopify, I've never run a website. Perhaps you've been thinking about starting your own dropshipping business, but you feel intimidated by the tech side, then this episode is for you. I get it, it's a common question, we get it all the time. A lot of people talk themselves out of starting an online business because they think they need to be tech savvy. When people dismiss it immediately and don't consider whether they'd be able to do it based on the tech side of things. Other people have already trodden the path that you're about to go and try and walk yourself. Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording the podcast episodes, we're running our own e-commerce businesses and helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping businesses. Keen to build your own 6 or even 7-figure business? My book, The Home Turf Advantage, is your blueprint for launching a profitable online store. Grab your copy at htabook.com today and let's get you started. Now sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast. Today we're answering a question that we get asked a lot. Do you need to be tech savvy or even a tech wizard to succeed in dropshipping? Perhaps you've been thinking about starting your own dropshipping business, but you feel intimidated by the tech side, then this episode is for you. That's right, we're going to be breaking down the exact technical skills that you'll need, and trust us, it's a lot simpler than you might think. I get it, it's a common question, we get it all the time. A lot of people talk themselves out of starting an online business because they think they need to be tech savvy. That's right, so we'll break it down today, and I think it is a shame when people dismiss it immediately and don't consider whether they'd be able to do it based on the tech side of things. So hopefully we can pull down some of those barriers today, or give you an understanding of what you'd need to know so you can make a more informed decision about whether you're in a position to get started with dropshipping based on the tech side of things. So, Lewis, what basic technical skills are actually needed to run a dropshipping business? Yeah, let's start with the basics, because we won't pretend that you don't need any skills at all, but these skills can be learned. So Shopify, for example, this will be your go-to platform for building your website, for managing orders, and for everything else in between. It's super intuitive, really easy to use. It's like using your phone. You know, you don't think, oh, I'm not tech savvy, I can't use my phone. Eventually you learn how to use it. So with Shopify, everything's drag and drop. You know, there are templates, there's libraries of templates that you can use to help you get started. It's very, very simple. We'll show you how to add products, how to process your orders, and just manage your store. But trust me, by the end of it, it does become second nature. It really does. I know it might sound alien to you at the moment and you think, well, I've never used Shopify, I've never run a website. Once you've done it a few times, it just will be second nature. You won't be thinking about it. And eventually, you probably won't even be using it that much because it might be a virtual assistant that uses it for you and they're the one managing your store. But initially, you want to get a grasp on it. And so we've got hours of training content to guide you through how to do it. But don't worry, you won't be doing any fancy coding or anything like that. The next part that is kind of within Shopify would just be a process of managing orders and data, really. It sounds more complex than it is, but most of it just involves forwarding emails and tracking orders using those little tracking codes that you get. You know, if you ever order something and they send you a courier delivery tracking code and it says track your order, put in your postcode, and then it tells you when the order is going to be delivered. Well, customers want those things. So sometimes you've just got to copy and paste those across from your supplier, put them into your Shopify system so that your customers are notified. Again, yes, you might be doing this manually for your first few orders, but as soon as you have some systems in place and a virtual assistant, so someone maybe who you can outsource a lot of the day-to-day operations and the work to, you won't even be doing that stuff yourself either. The analytics, so the data side of things, again, sounds complicated. It's all baked into Shopify in a dashboard. So it just allows you to pull up some simple graphs and see, okay, so we have this many visitors to our website today. We have this many people add their item to cart, and we have this many people purchase. And so that's really kind of what it comes down to in its simplest form. And once you know where to look, and we'll show you where to look and what things to try to tweak and what you can change and how you can improve and control your business, it's honestly a lot less overwhelming than it seems. You don't need to be some analytical tech wizard to make it work. The other things that might require a little bit of know-how eventually, and again, this stuff can be learned, are the ads and email tools. So to get people to come to our website, the fastest way to make that happen today, rather than waiting for months for us to rise up the rankings in Google search result, is to just run some ads, because we can jump the queue and be straight at the top of Google within hours. And so tools like Google Ads for advertising, and then Klaviyo, which is the tool that we recommend for emailing out your email list, your newsletter subscribers, or the people who abandon their cart but don't purchase on your website. We use a tool called Klaviyo, and it might sound intimidating, this whole email marketing thing, if you've never done anything like that. But once you're in, it's just like filling out a form. You fill in the details, you fill in the blanks, that's all templated. You switch on the system, and once it's done, it's kind of set it and forget it. It's pretty much just a flow of emails that will go out to every customer and will stop whenever they do the action that you want them to do. So in our case, probably when they make a purchase, and we'll stop pestering them with emails and sending them out follow-up messages with different value emails that we would send. So we've got this stuff all laid out step by step in videos inside our program to walk you through absolutely everything. So the nice thing about this is, even if that stuff does sound a little bit intimidating and you think, well, I haven't done email marketing before and I haven't used Shopify before, you don't have to figure it all out alone. It's all there laid out for you in over the shoulder, step-by-step tutorials, as if you're sitting at the desk next to me and next to James and looking at our screen, watching the mouse and just doing exactly as we do.
That was the key for me when I built my dropshipping business, was that I had videos to follow. So although I was brand new to all of these tools, apart from a little bit of dabbling dropshipping before, I'd certainly never used Google Ads before, but I had a video to follow. Shopify, I had very little experience, but it was a case of following a video to understand how to use it. And because these tools are used by literally millions of users in a lot of these cases, because we go straight to the top of the market tools to use, like Shopify, Google Ads, Klaviyo. These are used by literally millions of businesses. And so there's so many help articles, walkthrough videos, instructions that we can rely on and lean on to help us out with using these tools, that you don't actually have to be a tech wizard. You don't have to have any prior experience to be able to use them. I think the less experience you have of tech side of things, you probably just need a little bit more time that it would take to get used to using these tools. But fortunately, there's lots of things around us to help us. And the platforms themselves do a lot of the heavy lifting. Because millions of users are using them, they've really refined their tools to make sure they're super simple for anyone to pick up and use quickly. Now, there are a few key tools and softwares that we'll be using when we're running a dropshipping business. And I remember being surprised that I was bookmarking all of the important tools in my browser when I was building my business, and there'd only be about 5 or 6 different tabs that I bookmarked, because a lot of it is consolidated into a few apps to get used to. So the examples of these would be like Google Ads and Klaviyo. Do they require more advanced tech knowledge to use these type of tools that we may never have used before?
Yeah, some tools are like Google Ads, as you mentioned there, do have a bit of a learning curve, but nothing that can't be handled with the right approach. So yeah, Google Ads, and probably the other big one, although we don't use it as much, would be Meta Ads, which is the kind of the parent overarching name given to Facebook ads and Instagram ads. So we call it Meta Ads. And these are a little bit more complex, but again, we use them in a strategic way, and we guide you through step by step, click by click, where to click, what to type, everything is given to you. And yet they are really, really important for us driving traffic, so getting visitors to our website. But it's kind of like riding a bike. It seems tricky at first, and you're like wobbling around and thinking, I'm never going to be able to do this. But after a few tutorials and some practice, it clicks and you don't even think about it. You get on a bike now and you just ride it, and you don't think like, oh, I once was never able to do this. You kind of take it for granted. Another tool, like we mentioned, is Klaviyo. So Klaviyo is used for email marketing. Now, put it this way, if you send emails regularly, or you can create a PowerPoint slide, you can handle Klaviyo. It's very much point, click, edit, drag and drop, fill in the blanks. And we've got walkthroughs for each tool as well. So you're not going to be left just kind of trying to fill in templates. We will actually show you exactly how we build this stuff out, so that the stuff you input into those template emails is relevant to the market that you're in and the products that you're selling, which, by the way, we teach you how to pick as well. So none of this is left to guesswork. You're not on your own here. And once you dive in, that learning curve flattens quickly. And if there's ever anything that you think, I really don't get it, and I'm watching this video and I can't figure it out. Remember, you've got a community of other entrepreneurs on the same path as you who've probably encountered the same frustration or confusion at some point in the past. And that's the beauty of a community like that. You just ask and immediately you'll get a flood of helpful replies saying like, oh yeah, I got stuck on that, but this is what I did, this, and this. And people share videos with each other in our community to teach each other how they figured out the problem as well. So yeah, lots of great support that you can lean on, and you're very much not alone in figuring this stuff out. You won't be the first person to have come in without any idea about any of this stuff, and after a while be running your business using this stuff. It's amazing how quickly that transformation happens if you're open to learning.
Exactly. It's reassuring to know that there's a community around you. And we've noticed that the people who are less confident, they often just post more and just ask more questions. And so they get more support. So there's more support involved if you are less comfortable, because people are out there trying to help each other out with these things, because they're all in the same boat in these communities. They all want to build a business, and we've all got different levels of tech experience behind us, which is nice to have. But I completely agree with what you said earlier, Lewis. Filling out ad campaigns or building a store, it's a lot like filling out a form. It's a lot like you just go through one at a time and you get prompted of what you're going to do next. And then you just have to work out each thing one piece at a time. And that doesn't take tech skills. It just takes understanding what it is you actually want to achieve. And I guess that comes from the training. That's why I had that, or just a clear vision of what type of business it is that you want to create. So if somebody straight away doesn't feel comfortable with these platforms, which is very normal, because as soon as you do anything new, it won't feel comfortable for a while. What would you say the options are for people to maybe outsource certain tasks that they feel out of their depth in?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is one of the best parts of being an entrepreneur. You don't have to do everything yourself. So if you're not comfortable with things like custom coding or website design, then just outsource it. Platforms like Upwork and Fiverr are full of freelancers who can help for relatively low cost as well. These things don't cost the world. You're not hiring somebody full time. You can pay them a very reasonable rate by the hour and just bring in the experts that you need for the projects that you need working on. Maybe you just pay someone for a few hours to come and help set up some things on your website that it might take you months to figure out. I always lean on experts when I need them. Think of it like being a football manager. You don't have to play every position as the football manager. You just need to hire in the right people for the technical roles that you need. So if you need a striker, you hire in a striker. If you need a defender, you hire in that position. And it's the same thing. If I need a web designer, I'll hire in a web designer for that project. If I need an email marketing expert specialist because I want to take things to the next level, then I might hire someone like that in for a few hours. But remember, it's a few hours. I'm not committing to their salary. I'm using freelancers to achieve what I need, and then I can move on to the next project. So as your business grows, outsourcing becomes kind of an investment in your growth. It should never be seen as an expense. By the stage that you're ready to outsource, your business should be making profit already. I typically wouldn't outsource things until I'm already at the point where my business has sales coming in, profit coming in. And so I can then focus on what I'm good at. I always say this, try and focus on what you're good at, and then just bring in the experts to handle what's more technical and is maybe outside of your scope, your area of expertise.
Exactly. You can play to your strengths. Exactly. We get a lot of people that come onto the program and are very confident with speaking with people because perhaps that's their job, and they would love to just do the supplier signing, and then they know that they're not as familiar with the tech side of things, and so they work with freelancers that they can find on Upwork quickly to upload all their products to Shopify. So although we spent the first part of this episode talking about how it's drag and drop, very self-explanatory, and you can pick it up yourself, if you just want to give it to somebody else, then that option is there, because the tools that we're using are so widely used that there are thousands of people very familiar with working with these tools, and you can hire them at a low cost. Because at Upwork, you can interact with people that are overseas, and it's very easy to hire people for one-off jobs to get through anything that you don't feel super confident with. So yeah, I'm doing that myself now, and I have done throughout my business. Even this week, there's certain things around tracking conversions, tracking sales in the right way that I'll just outsource to a professional that's really an expert, so I don't have to be an expert at all the technical side of my business, because I just know what I want to achieve, and then you can just give it to others to do those pieces of the puzzle for you. So let's talk about building confidence for you in your business and people that are specifically not very confident around tech. How would you say that people can grow their tech skills as they build their dropshipping confidence?
Well, it's much like any other confidence type in the other aspect of life. Tech confidence comes with practice. So the best way to get comfortable with it is to just jump in and start. Dive in, start small, but it's like learning to swim. You don't need to jump in at the deep end right away. You start small, you get familiar, and eventually your confidence grows as you go. But you had to get in to learn originally. You couldn't just learn it from the sidelines and then one day get in and swim and be a perfect swimmer. So the other thing you can do is just use resources that are available to you. As we said, there's so many resources we have in our program. I mean, there's hours and hours of tutorials. We also have a forum where you can ask for help. Shopify, Google Ads, and all these other platforms also have free resources that you can use. And of course, we've also got our live community collaboration calls, our live Q&A calls, our expert sessions, and our member store spotlight calls as well. So we have so many resources that you can tap into to build that confidence, and just maybe have us on in the car or on the train or in the gym in the background, just absorbing that kind of information. And eventually it starts to go into your subconscious. And the next time you're faced with a challenge, you feel like you can rise to it because you think, I actually know this stuff. I've learned this. I've listened to hours of their content and I really understand it. It's like this podcast. If you've listened to every episode up to this point, then fantastic. You probably are confident enough now to go and build your business. The key is to start small though, and just to be okay with making mistakes as well. As long as you learn from those mistakes, then they're beneficial in getting you towards the destination you're heading to. Every problem you solve will incrementally build your confidence as you go. So it's worth starting small, but you've got to start.
And you've got to start with the right mindset. Just being open to learning. It's like when you started driving, you didn't expect to know how to drive a manual car immediately. There's going to be some time involved, mistakes, to understand it, but with the right mindset and knowing that it's something that you really want to do, then you've got the motivation to persevere when it is a bit tough to understand how to do something for the first time. So some great advice there, Lewis. Lots of you to take away. I think the key thing is if you're not confident, repetition is massive with any of the skills that you are learning, just by being on your laptop and building new stores, listening to podcasts like this, watching programs, being in a community, all these things just build up your confidence so that knowing that you can build exactly what somebody else has built as well. For people that still feel on the fence and they're not quite sure, how should they approach outsourcing a task versus learning on their own?
Well, here's how I see it. I mean, if you outsource what feels too time consuming or too technical once your business is up and running and profitable, and I mean, you can do it before then if you want to, if you have savings that you want to put towards outsourcing, even before you get to the point where you're making enough sales to pay for it. I just like my business to pay for the things that it needs self-sufficiently rather than me pouring money into it. But you can always learn it at your own pace later on. That's the nice thing. If it's a skill that you think, I really want to develop this skill, but I don't want it to hold me back from launching, pay someone now, but maybe pay them a little bit extra, or maybe say, while you fix this problem or while you go in and do what you need to do, can I just shadow you? Can I just watch what you do? Could you record your screen and talk me through it? Because then that way you can learn how to do it later yourself on your own if you want to. The other thing is to focus on growth tasks and spend your time on skills that directly help you run or grow your business, like managing your ads or tracking your orders, making sure that you're contacting the right suppliers, making sure that you're signing new suppliers, the things that probably you as a business owner should be doing initially. Those are the revenue generating activities, the revenue generating tasks. They're the things that bring in the cash, bring in the money. So focus on those. Don't get sidetracked in being like, I've been deliberating for the last 2 weeks on whether I should have a blue or a green header or whether I should have this image on my homepage or this image. That stuff's not going to make a material difference in whether you're generating a consistent flow of sales or not. There might be tweaks you can make later, but for now, focus on the big stuff. Try and zoom out and look at the big picture activities that will really move the needle on your business. And then outsourcing, remember we talked about viewing it as an investment. It's not a cost. If it's a cost, then what you're outsourcing probably shouldn't be being done, because if it's just costing your business money but not bringing in more, then maybe your focus is in the wrong place. But the more time you free up to focus on your strengths by outsourcing, the faster you'll be able to grow, because it allows you to focus on the things that you and only you can do to a really high level.
Exactly. It's a great way to discuss this kind of issue about tech savviness, because I think people immediately think that they'll have to do everything themselves. but we've really shone a light today on the fact that you can give a lot away. It's like a football manager, like you said, they're not expected to be running down the left wing and cross the ball in for them to head the goal in themselves, as well as be the manager at the same time. You really see yourself as a business owner. And instead of being, somebody on the ground doing every single task, you just need to have the overall picture, the overall vision of what it is you're going to create. And then you outsource the tasks that you don't feel confident with to other people in your team. We've really broke down what's involved with building a dropshipping business in episode 75. So I'd recommend checking that out if you want to know exactly what it is on the other side of starting a business. And that episode 75 is called The Truth About Starting a Business on Your Own. So I recommend checking that out after this one if you still want to know a clear picture of what it's like to get started, because we really dive into the mindset and importantly, what support you should look for when getting started with building your own business. So finally, Lewis, final thought on starting dropshipping with varying levels of tech experience. What do you think people should be thinking about when it comes to technical skills required for dropshipping?
Sure. Okay, I'll give you a few key takeaways from this episode. First is you don't need to know everything up front. The skills you need will grow as your business grows. The other is that you have support as well from tutorials, communities, and our own program as well. You're never doing this alone. If you choose to surround yourself with the right people, the right community, you're not alone doing it. Other people have already trodden the path that you're about to go and try and walk yourself. It's all about mindset as well. If you come into this willing to learn, willing to adapt, then there really is no limit to what you can achieve with this. So you don't need to be a tech wizard, a tech genius. You don't even really need to be that tech savvy. You just need the right mindset and an open willingness to learn. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, head over to htabook.com and sign up for a £7 trial of the Dropship Unlocked Accelerator. Not only will you get a free copy of my book, The Home Turf Advantage, but you'll also get access to exclusive training, live coaching calls, and a supportive community of entrepreneurs to help you along the way. It's a great way to kickstart your journey.
Enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review, and we might just feature it on an upcoming episode. Also, for detailed show notes and resources, head to dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value from any episode of this podcast, please take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your podcast app of choice. It helps us more than you could imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments on the show. Thanks for being part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering a new episode every week.
Now let's answer a question that we've had in from a listener of the podcast. So remember, if you want your question answered, simply leave a comment beneath the YouTube video version of this episode. And not only will it get answered in the comments, but it might just be answered on an upcoming episode. So that's exactly what Jordan has done. So Jordan has asked, interested to hear what you guys do to follow up with prospective customers. There's been a couple of times where I've spoken to people on the phone or live chat or email where they've inquired about a product, but they've not pulled the trigger. Have you found an effective way to follow up with these leads and make sales?
Thanks for the question, Jordan. Yeah, so following up with people is key, and we'd actually call them leads in this case because they're not yet customers, but they're leads that could potentially become customers with the right follow-up. So here's how we approach it anyway. You've got to have a follow-up system. So we would track potential customers in a simple follow-up spreadsheet to make sure no one slips through the crack. So we can check in with them over the next week or so and make sure that eventually you have exhausted the follow-up with that person to the point where they either buy or they tell you that they're no longer interested and not going to. Because sometimes it might take 4 or 5 touch points in the form of automated emails that are going out to those people with an abandoned cart sequence that you can trigger and automate using Klaviyo. But also when you have your virtual assistant there and you're paying for them by the hour, why not have them calling this person every now and then, checking in and say, did you make your purchase yet? Just wondered if we could help with anything. It's just another touch point. You can also use things like SMS or WhatsApp outreach as well to try to sweeten the deal. Maybe offer them a coupon code, maybe offer them some kind of extra incentive to make the decision to come with you. The next thing is to try to just match the contact method. So if they called you, definitely follow up with a call. But if they emailed you, perhaps initially follow up with an email. Maybe that's the channel that they prefer to communicate through. So just meet them where they're at. it feels more personal and matches their preferred communication style if you just meet them on the platform that they contacted your business on, whether it's on live chat or email. But sometimes if you do want to move the conversation over to a phone call, it can really show that you care, you want to listen to the customer's needs, and then maybe it's a combination of different products that you have to put together, like in some kind of bespoke package that meets the customer's exact requirements. And that really is just going above and beyond. It's going the extra mile that so many brands won't be bothered to do because they don't make that phone call. So it's highly recommended that you do. And it's fun. It's nice. You speak to people, you can make their day by giving them a great deal. And you can, by closing that sale, end up paying yourself more in profit than you would have ever earned in a day working a job, all by making one phone call to a customer of your business who then could go on to leave you a nice review. And it's just this nice feeling, So I'd savor that communication when I was doing it myself initially. Eventually, you might want to put a team in place because you don't want to be on the phone all the time to customers. But even so, you can incentivize your team on closing the sale, on making the deal, on getting the customer the deal that they were happy with and the deal that they wanted by really listening to them on the phone. Most customers as well just want reassurance, especially with high ticket product. So whether it's that the product fits their needs or that your store is reliable and you are who you say you are, even just checking back with suppliers for more details can be the difference that gets them to buy. So if they need a question answered that you don't have the answer to, you can just say, well, let us just double check in with our product team and we'll come back to you. Speak to the supplier, give them a call back and say, hi, I checked in with our product team and yeah, it would be suitable for your needs. We can have it delivered to you by tomorrow afternoon if that works for you, or the day after. Should we get it done now? And is there anything else you need before we go ahead? It's almost that kind of assumptive, well, you're here now, I've answered your question, let's get it done. And the amount of sales we've closed through phone calls with customers purely because they didn't want to put their card details in and buy something that was £1,000 or £2,000 on an e-commerce site, and instead they just wanted to be on the phone with us. And the funny thing is, when they're on the phone with us, typically all we'll do is when they're ready to make payment, we'll just divert them through to a card form anyway. So they're still going through the website. It's just that we were there to reassure them over the phone, but everything can still be securely paid through the Shopify payment gateway as well.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jordan. And actually, it made me look into my data. And what my data said is very similar to what you say, Lewis, as well. Most customers are just looking for that reassurance and a bit more technical information about the product in order for them to buy. And those are the ways that we've been able to get people over the line that didn't purchase on their first occasion. And yeah, with virtual assistants on board, you just make sure that they reassure your customers and know all of the information to get across to your customers quickly. And you can turn a lot of customers around, which I know you have done as well, Lewis, with those tactics. Okay, so we'll move on now to a review that we've had in for the podcast because we love shouting these out. So a big thank you to John McDougall for sharing your thoughts in an Apple podcast review. So John said, a breath of fresh air when so many of the online business programs are full of noise, hype and hot air. It is a pleasure to listen to a podcast that goes into the details of what it takes to start and grow a real online business in a realistic way, warts and all. I look forward to more episodes, great production values as well that supports the message.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your review, John. Really glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a quick review. It takes you just a few seconds, but it means the world to us and it helps keep the podcast going. Who knows, we might feature your review in our next episode.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you're walking away with insights and inspiration.
To kickstart your e-commerce journey, grab a copy of my book, The Home Turf Advantage, at htabook.com. It's a distilled guide based on real experience to help you build your e-commerce venture.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more strategies and success stories. And if you like what you heard, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might just get a shout out on an upcoming episode.
And finally, thank you for deciding to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.